Welcome back, everybody, on today's wonderful, mystical, magical, haunted location tour. We are going to the Red Lion Inn in Stockbridge, Massachusetts, in the Berkshires. Now, I've never personally been there, but I do actually know someone who was within the last year or so. They didn't report any ghosts, but I got a good chuckle when I actually found this in the books I was looking through for research on what haunted locations to do. And I kept coming back to it. And I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. So I have my assistant who is helping me. So what do you think of the Red Lion Inn being considered haunted? Do you have anything to say? Is that so? Well, that's very helpful. Thank you. All right. Moving on. So now the Red Lion Inn has a long history. This inn is 250 years old. So it was founded by Silas Pepoon in 1773. Old Dusty Carriage Road. This is where this hotel was first built. And it was in the Pepoon family up until, at least as far as records show, until 1873 when Mrs. and Mrs. Charles H. Plum bought the hotel. Now, it was at this time that the hotel was refurbished. So Mrs. Plum went through and redecorated and bought all of the antiques that can be found there presently. Most of those antiques come from the Revolutionary period. Now, August 31st, 1896, the inn burns down. Somehow, they are actually able to save all, if not most, of the antiques. How? It doesn't say. It just said that they were able to save them, and they are presently there today, so you can go and see them. Now, within a year, the inn was rebuilt, which did surprise some people. They kind of thought that, maybe they wouldn't rebuild, but they did. And it would stay in the Plum family, passing from them to their distant relatives, the Treadwells. And it would stay in that family up until 1968, when Jack and Jane Fitzpatrick would buy the inn to keep it from the hands of developers. Now, I do want to note that from 1773 up until 1967, the inn was known as the Stockbridge Inn. It was the Fitzpatricks who supposedly changed the name to the Red Lion Inn. Now, that's what I found in one of my documents. I think something else says that it might have been changed earlier, but I'm going to err on the side of, I think, one of the other documents. But it was known as both the Stockbridge Inn and the Red Lion Inn at different times in history. And the Fitzpatricks do currently own the inn. Now, here's the deal. Through its storied history, the Red Lion Inn has played host to a number of individuals, famous and non-famous. Included among them are 5 U.S. presidents and a host of authors, actors, singers, actresses, comedians, etc., etc., etc. So among them are Grover Cleveland, Theodore Roosevelt, and Calvin Coolidge, along with Nathaniel Hawthorne, William Cullen Bryant, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, Thornton Wilder, John Wayne, Carol Burnett, Paul Newman, Steven Spielberg, Leonard Bernstein, and Bob Dylan, just to name a few. So, no, that's all fine and wonderful, but how is it haunted? Why is it haunted? So there is one room in particular, well, actually 2, but one room in particular of note, and that is room 301 in the hotel. Now, that is the room that they say if you want to experience haunted phenomena that you should personally request. In this room, there have been cold spots, electromagnetic phenomenon, there has been knocking, there are reports of toes being tugged at, blankets being tugged at, the feeling of your hair or your head being stroked, hands being scratched, people pressing down on your chest. There are also reports of people waking up to see a man in a top hat looming over them. Apparently he's all in black, or he appears as kind of a shadowed figure with a top hat. The other ghost, now they don't say if she is strictly in room 301 or if she wanders around a bit. There is a little girl that wanders around and she holds flowers, and she will also wake people up at night. They say sometimes you hear her crying, sometimes you hear her giggle. And, well, according to the cleaning staff, it's not just room 301. The whole fourth floor is potentially haunted. They don't particularly like being up there. There are reports and reviews from maids and staff that are like, yeah, no, we would try and get as fast as we could off the fourth floor. Never wanted to go up there alone. So that's something else to consider. I guess if you can't get room 301, try to get something on the fourth floor. Now, there is a review, and what's fascinating is that a lot of people don't realize this place is haunted until they stay there. But in their reviews, notably on TripAdvisor, at least that's where I found a bunch. I'm sure they're on other TripAdvisor websites as well, or not TripAdvisor, other vacation websites as well, where you can find this information, where people are leaving reviews about their haunted experiences. If it's not just room 301, the whole fourth floor is potentially haunted. They don't particularly like being up there. There are reports and reviews from maids and staff that are like, yeah, no, we would try and get as fast as we could off the fourth floor. Never wanted to go up there alone. So that's something else to consider. I guess if you can't get room 301, try to get something on the fourth floor. Now, there is a review, and what's fascinating is that a lot of people don't realize this place is haunted until they stay there. But in their reviews, notably on TripAdvisor, at least that's where I found a bunch. I'm sure they're on other TripAdvisor websites as well, or not TripAdvisor, other vacation websites as well, where you can find this information, where people are leaving reviews about their haunted experiences. One woman added room 232 of the list of haunted rooms. And she said she was woken up in the middle of the night by a dark-haired woman in a colonial nightgown pressing down on her chest. There are also people that report hearing footsteps, people walking into the room, doors opening and closing, someone climbing into bed with them, knocking. There's a whole host of things. There are also people that have said that they have felt like someone has brushed by them or gently kind of nudged them out of the way, walking up and down the stairs. So it's not just apparently the fourth floor or room 301 or even room 232. It sounds like the ghosts tend to roam. Now I'm going to pose the theory to you, because the Red Lion Inn has been investigated by a handful of people. Some are professional ghost hunters, others are just amateurs, just kind of wanting to see what they can catch either on the minimal equipment they have or whatever their personal experiences might be. But I have a theory. It might not be true, but no, I don't know if anyone has tried to research this. A lot of those antiques are from the Revolutionary period. It's a very high emotion time. A lot of feelings going on pro and against the British. What if some of these ghosts are actually attachments to the antiques? So, but here's the problem. No one can identify these ghosts. No one's sure what era they come from, what century they come from, even what decade they come from. They're really not sure. They can't identify them. Now it's a hotel. You have people drifting through. It's also probable that these might even be ghosts of people who live in the area that, because the inn is so old, have landed there because it's a familiar site. We won't really know. We don't know. But it is a favorite spot of mediums and paranormal investigators. So you never know. There is also a very interesting phenomenon that is happening with other Red Lion Inns. So there is one in Gloucestershire and I believe one in Wiltshire in England. And both of those are actually haunted as well. I think it's the one in Wiltshire that is haunted supposedly by the original innkeeper, or at least by one of the innkeepers. But yeah, so there is a phenomenon with Red Lion Inns that they do tend to be a little bit haunted, or very haunted. So yeah, food for thought. Don't know what it is. No one is sure if there is a connection to the name or why that would be, but hey, worth considering and looking into. go ahead, book a room, see what happens. Let me know in the comments if you have ever stayed at the Red Lion Inn, if you had any experiences, or maybe if you're going to go and stay. Book a room, see what happens. Go have fun. Say hi to the ghosts. Now, there was one note that's a little concerning that said that one of the spirits followed them home. I would just make sure when you leave that you make it abundantly clear no one is allowed to follow you. There was only one person that made note of this. So I don't know if this person was an untapped sensitive and doesn't realize it or how that happened. But that being said, do make it abundantly clear that you have come with nothing, you're leaving with nothing, and no one is allowed to follow you home. And if you say that to the empty room before you leave, or to the room, it's going to look empty to you anyway, regardless of whether or not someone's there, that will set that boundary that, hopefully no one will follow you home. Yeah, that was a little concerning when I read that, but there was only one person, so I'm not sure if that has happened to others and no one is willing to say it, or if this was just kind of a one-off event and I couldn't tell you why it was a one-off, but that does seem worth mentioning. But yeah, I don't want to scare anybody, but yeah. So go have fun, book a room. There are many other haunted inns actually in the Berkshires that you might want to check out if you can't stay at the Red Lion Inn. So go check those out too. Let us know. And also let me know if there are any specific hotels or locations that you would like me to do videos on in the future. This is obviously just for Halloween. I may do an odd video here and there throughout the upcoming year. I haven't decided yet. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, let me know. All right. Well, my friends, take care. And until we meet again, bye.